But as we flesh out this webinar to sell, and then maybe we don't need a demo. Maybe the individual hospital, whatever, buys the product, and we send in just a technician to make sure that the first few use cases go well, as opposed to having a salesperson there kind of looking over a shoulder, answering questions, and kind of leading the sale, the demo towards a closing point. Maybe we can appreciate that, as you said, if everything's fine at that point, the sale goes ahead. So with all this said then, because again, we're clearly on the same page with this, and we do this with our training product as well. I don't sell anyone. We have large organizations buy into our training product because they like our training and building up to the purchase itself, and they want to implement that into their own team. So they're kind of we're selling what we do essentially. So I'm on board. I'm on board with everything they're saying. But for Marcus, someone who's an individual contributor, let's paint a scenario where the marketing team are terrible. They're no help. They're no good. Perhaps they've had a fight with someone they had a Christmas brawl. They slept with someone's partner. They're not going to engage with you. So we've got to do some of this ourselves. We've got to become, in your words, subject matter experts. How do we go about doing that? Is there a framework? Do we need a blog, podcast, create content? Can we do this just on LinkedIn? I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you here, but I want this to be as open-ended as possible. How does someone who's listening to this now who goes, right, I don't have the support of marketing, but I want to invest in my career for the next 10 years. I'm going to be selling in the same market, if not the same products. What's the starting point for all of this?
The big deal. Love this question. I'm going to answer it in the context of B2B products, if that's okay with you, right? And if you want to break off from there, that's fine. But in that context, right now, and by the way, this can evolve, but I don't think there's any faster way to do it than on LinkedIn. I think if somebody said to me, should I podcast or should I LinkedIn right now? Assuming they were using LinkedIn the right way, right? Mm-hmm. Assuming they were podcasting the right way, I would say, as a salesperson, sales professional, go all in on LinkedIn. I've watched salespeople's careers and therefore wallets, bank accounts explode because of the way they use LinkedIn. LinkedIn, to me today, is almost the best of all of it because that's definitively where your customer base is. It's also, without question, where you can do a little bit of everything. If you want to do and I say this because I am all in on LinkedIn, Will. And if you're listening to this right now, follow me on LinkedIn. You'll see what I mean. I post at least one great piece of content every single day on LinkedIn. Something that really makes you think, right? Challenges assumptions, has good conversation. Sometimes it's a video. Sometimes it's a very, very short thought. Sometimes it's a longer form thought. It reminds me of when I first started really on the web hardcore in 2009, Will. Was my first blog, let's call it. Yes, I had my business, but then I had a personal blog. And I started my business blog. Then I started a personal blog where I was talking about business. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of that time. And LinkedIn is a place where, because you've got your peers, because it's focused on professional, we're not worried about what you had for lunch, right? It filters out a whole bunch of fluffy stuff, right? And it allows you to quickly build a strong audience there. And so if someone's listening to this and you haven't done it before, I'd say you take 3 to 4 thoughts of yours, post 3 to 4 times a week on LinkedIn with essentially what the world has taught you. And don't assume everything you say is understood by the marketplace. This is the thing that a lot of people mistake when they start this journey to thought leadership, is they assume that everybody just knows it, and so therefore they're not going to say it. No, you don't want to do that. Even if you're talking to, let's say in Will's case, medical professionals, you don't want to just assume that everybody understands these things. And so by doing this, you start to really build that momentum. And the thing about it is, you can even create it in such a way that you might say, okay, once a week, I'm going to share a customer story, like a journey they went on about something that went well for them. Once a week, I'm going to talk about a trend in the industry. Once a week, I'm going to share an observation about things that are wrong with the industry that I'm in. All right. Once a week, I'm going to do a product demo of something that interests folks. All right. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, that's my editorial calendar. I'm going to do that every single week. Now, you're like, every single week, yeah, here's what's cool about that. It forces you to become a dramatically more effective teacher, communicator, and certainly because of its salesperson, right? That's the beauty of teaching. It forces us to have that cognition all the time. People say, Marcus, how do you come up with something really good every day? Because I force myself to do it. And because I force myself to do it, I come up with good stuff. Now, sometimes it'll be a 3-sentence post that took me 20 minutes to figure out because I was struggling, maybe for whatever reason that day, with what to say. Sometimes it could be, 200, 300 words, and it took me 3 minutes because it just flowed right out. That's how it works, and you get better and better, and you get faster and faster. That's where I would focus if I was in B2B products. That's where I would lean into the most. I would do some video, I would do some text, I would mix it up. LinkedIn, baby. Ride that wave, man. Ride that wave.
And clearly right now is the time before they start doing what Facebook did and just bombard everyone with ads and just dramatically cuts the organic reach of things, which is coming, surely.
We should have said, yes, it is. Will, we should have said too, and what should they cut out? Because part of this, being very successful on building your brand and driving thought leadership, is not becoming a jack of all social media trades, but rather becoming a master of one. If you try to be a jack of all trades, you'll be a master of none. Many of us have seen that before, right? And so don't try to be great on Facebook, on Instagram. Besides, if you're in B2B products, man, what the heck is wrong with you if you're spending all day over there? I mean, you're just wasting time talking to your friends. Talk to your stinking customers, right? And that's why we go to LinkedIn. And in the process of creating more and more video on LinkedIn, you can maybe start that YouTube page as well, right? And then because you've built your brand, whether or not you want to stay at your company forever, you're going to have now what is really the best resume in the world, which is thought leadership in 2021. That's your resume, baby. You don't need an actual resume. You need the proof is in the pudding online. Like you could see it. This person really lives and breathes their industry, and they have an audience. I can see their audience because of the amount of people that engage with them online. I can see that they're an influencer. That's powerful. That's going to get you a job quicker than anything else.
How much of all of this comes down to just the simple fact that it's very difficult to bullshit for more than like a few weeks when you are when you're posting 3, 4, 5 times a week, right? How much of this comes down to the fact that you just can't lie, talk bullshit, say praise about your product when you don't really care about it, you don't believe in it? How much of it comes down to the fact that you just can't do that for an extended period of time? And so that organically builds social proof in what you're saying.
There is something that is so important and so true, what you just said, Will. People sometimes say to me, I don't understand, like, how do I get really good on LinkedIn? And what I want to tell them is, think a little bit deeper. Because if you really are obsessing about your industry, your products, and your customers, you look at it from all sides. And let me give you an example. A thought leader doesn't schlep their product all day. A thought leader says, here's what's great. And we talk about this in the visual sale. In the book, we talk about different videos that move the needle most for salespeople. One of the ones we talk about is when you're creating a product video. The big mistake that companies make and individuals make is they only want to say who the product is for. That's the easiest thing in the world to do, Will, and that does not get you a star nor a check mark. What earns the star or the check mark and ultimately helps you become that voice of trust is when you talk about who that product is not a good fit for. This is the key to trust when you're talking about products online, especially in the B2B space. Yet, if you look at the majority of, let's call it review videos or videos describing products, how often do they say, now, if you are looking for this, this, and this, then this is probably not the best fit for you. How often do they say that? Almost freaking never, and that's what kills trust. Now, if you do this, though, people in your space might say, oh, you mentioned that it doesn't do such and such. Yeah, because people aren't dumb. Buyers might start off as uninformed, but newsflash, in 2021, eventually they're going to become informed because they have this thing called the internet. And the truth doesn't hide any longer. It ain't 1995. It is 2021. By the way, 1995, that's when the internet started to take off, right? And so that's where we are today. That's where we are today. This is what we got to accept. Buyers aren't dumb. They might be uninformed, but they're not dumb. And eventually, most of them will become informed.